Welcome, guys, to another episode. Today, we got a very special guest with us, and that is Sam Gasada. And those of you that don't know, she is an assistant coach here at Bethany College for the softball women's. And we're going to go ahead and get into kind of the lifestyle, what her day-to-day, kind of asking some deep questions as far as what it takes to be an NAI assistant coach with softball. And yeah, again, we're going to introduce Sam, right? Sam is in 2021 KCAC first team, which is her senior year, correct? Mm-hmm. And then she has a school record for inning pitches in the season for 243.2. School record for complete games in a season, 28. Wow. Sam, thank you so much for coming on here. How do you feel?
I feel good. Thank you for having me here. I feel honored that you even asked me to be on your podcast. This is pretty cool.
I have to. Especially, I mean, for those of you that don't know, Sam is also an RD here, but I originally had known her for being an assistant coach, so I just thought it'd be best to kind of get into it. All right, Sam, well, tell us a little bit about you, right? Where you're from, kind of your journey of how you kind of got here.
Okay. So I'm originally from Tucson, Arizona. I went JUCO my first 2 years. So I went to Mesa Community College out of high school. I played softball there.
Okay.
Really liked the program. It was busy. JUCO, you don't have a limit on hours. So it was softball from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. every day. So it definitely helped me develop as a player.
Yeah.
From the get-go, I remember I was on my visit with the coach at Mesa, and I asked him, I was like, hey, how likely is it for people to transfer from this JUCO to a 4-year? Like, I want to end up at a 4-year eventually. Mm-hmm. And he was like, yeah, it's possible. Like, we'll help you with your skills video, and we'll see where you end up. And I was like, awesome. So the summer before my sophomore year, I filmed my skills video, and he was sending it out to coaches. And I remember a coach, Coach Molly, texted me about Bethany in like the beginning of the season. So it was February of my sophomore year at Mesa.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, a school named Bethany? I was like, that sounds so funny. Like, okay.
Yeah.
And she asked me if I had anywhere else to go, like if I knew where I was going. And I said no. And I was terrible at getting recruited. Like I never sent emails. I was so bad
you're
at
bad at
texting
replying.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Sorry. But yes, I was. Yes, I was. Still am. No. But she texted me again.
Okay.
Once season was over, and she was like, "Hey, like, have you found a school yet?" And I was like, "No, I haven't." She's like, "Do you want to have a phone call and I can talk to you about Bethany?" And I was like, "Yes, like, sounds great." Yeah. And I remember we had like a team bonding activity, and I had to run upstairs for the phone call, and we talked for a good 20, 25 minutes, and she's telling me about Bethany, and a couple weeks later, I go on a visit. So I visited a couple other schools in the KCAC, actually. I visited Oklahoma Wesleyan.
Okay.
And Sterling. And when I visited Bethany, I visited Sterling right before. So I visited Sterling, and then I visited Bethany.
Okay, so within that week of you visiting. Okay.
Yeah, so me and my family drove. It was me, my dad, my mom, and my brother.
Wow, so the whole family.
The whole family, yes. And we drove out here, and I remember on my visit, I liked that Bethany had a softball field on their campus.
Yes. Yeah, instead of driving all the way to another park.
Yes, like I wanted everything that I needed to be on campus. Like I could walk, right?
Yeah.
And I really liked the weight room. Like
how big it is and like the number of racks that you can use. Oh, yeah.
Yes, like compared to the other schools that I went to, Bethany has one of the best weight rooms. Like so I remember going in there and I was like, "Oh, this is awesome. This is great." So I picked Bethany. And yeah, I haven't left since. So what happened is after I graduated in 2021, I knew I wanted to be a grad assistant. So I knew I wanted to be an assistant coach somewhere. And I didn't know where. I was talking to coaches, so a school in New Jersey, and they would pay for my tuition, but I had to figure out my room and board.
Okay. So the school is free, but as far as living situation, that's all on your own.
Correct. And then a school in Kansas City, my room and board would have been covered, but I would have had to pay for my master's degree. So I was like, decisions. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the coach that I had when I played here, he moved on to another school, and our assistant coach became the interim head coach here. And he called me. Him and the assistant coach called me, and they said, we're looking for a pitching coach, and we'd like for you to be the pitching coach. And they were like, as an employee, you'd be able to apply for like
A
tuition
mess.
exchange.
Yeah.
So your master's degree would get covered,
Yeah.
paid for.
All free.
And I was like, okay, one box check.
Yeah, say less, say less.
And then they told me, they're like, well, there's also an RD position to open. If you are interested in that, that would cover your living. So I was like, okay.
Both for the two
yeah.
box check, plus
Masters.
like two separate jobs that can cover both things that are important.
Yes. And they said that I would be able to help with SID, which is sports information. I'd help the sports information director.
Okay, yeah.
So I'd get a little bit of a paycheck too. So I was like, okay, check, and check.
Yeah. Everything's adding up that you get to win it. So how did you feel getting that call, knowing that like they wanted you? It's like, damn, we need you. Come on, like, we're gonna make it work for you. And this and that. It's like available, and like you said, it's checking off your checklist. Did you feel like nervous, excited, kind of like oh shit, like, you know what I mean, like kind of like little hectic?
I remember feeling so excited when I got the phone call because it was awesome to basically get a job opportunity, because that's what it felt like.
Yeah.
Right out of
college,
just graduated. I was like, this is cool. Like, they saw the work that I put in, and they think I'm a valuable asset to the program to ask me to come back. So it was a really good feeling. I felt good. I told them I would still think about it because I didn't want to like tell them anything right then and there.
Yeah, to rush everything without actually thinking about it and making that executive decision.
Yes. So I called my dad, talked to him about it, but it was a no-brainer. And me and my dad, I remember we talked about it. They're like, well, this is obvious, So I felt really blessed in that moment. So.
And so like, and that was after you just graduated, or that was within months?
It was within months. So I graduated May 7th, 2021.
Okay.
I got this phone call in July, beginning of July. So it was 2 months.
2 months, yeah.
Yeah, which at that point I didn't know what I was going to do.
So you were just looking for suggestions. I mean, you said you had talked to those other two schools. And so, I mean, it kind of was a win-win, but did you ever wonder kind of, like, what were you looking for initially? Were you looking for just like a big school, or it didn't really matter? Just whoever came first?
I was looking for somewhere that would give me the best opportunity academically, because that's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
And I knew wherever I ended up, whether it was going to be a good experience or a difficult experience, I knew it would still be a good experience for me to learn from.
Yeah.
So I wasn't looking for anything too specific. I wasn't picky at all. I was very open with my options, but this one was just the most like obvious pick.
one,
Yeah.
especially it lines up to what you want.
Yes.
So now, in that aspect of like you just finished playing, now you're going straight to coaching, right? What was the biggest challenge as far as you as transitioning as a player, being on that field, doing what you can do based off now you're coaching people that you wish you would want them to do, if that makes sense?
It does make sense.
Was that the hardest challenge, or what is the hardest challenge as far as transitioning from a player to coach?
The hardest challenge for me was coaching young women that I had as teammates. I was coaching my teammates, and so that was definitely a hard transition. Just because you go from being a part of that sisterhood to then having to set that boundary, and so that was a big challenge. I felt very isolated at times. Like I couldn't
really sit with them in the cab that much. Couldn't hang out.
Yeah. I couldn't text my best friend anymore and be like, hey, let's go to Poncho's. Like, I can't anymore. She's like, that's my player.
Yeah.
So, but the coaching staff at the time was very welcoming to me. And so there was definitely people here that made me feel welcome, but I'd say that was the biggest challenge. Is I've always enjoyed coaching, and like giving lessons. So that part, people will listen to you or they won't, right? So I can't control that.
It's one or the other. Either they trust you what you're saying, or they're just kind of like, okay, whatever.
Yes. And so they'll take it with a grain of salt. And so that helps me, because I tell them what I see. I tell them what I notice they're doing, and give them suggestions. If they do it and it helps, great. If they don't want to do it,
then it's on them
great.
As a player.
Yeah.
Especially hearing it from, because that is a huge challenge as far as being a friend. Now it's like, wait, like now I'm taking orders from somebody I used to go to Ponchos with. It's like, how can I take this serious? So that definitely is a big hidden challenge. I feel like, and it's kind of common, but just being in it, like, did you feel, I guess in that moment when you did tell your former teammates, like, hey, like you give that suggestion, has there ever been a situation where they try to prove you wrong, or was it just mostly smooth the rest of the way there?
I would say they respected me as a teammate, and so they had my respect as their coach.
Yeah.
I always tried to level myself with them, so I never tried to act like I was above them or better than them in any way.
Yeah.
I always tried to appear to them and be resourceful to them as a helping hand. So some people are better, some people are more coachable than others. Some people take advice and criticism differently than
way,
others.
yeah.
So I wouldn't say it was smooth all the time, but I also wouldn't say that.
It was so perfect all the time.
Yeah, and I would say they were receptive,
Yeah.
So.
Well, that makes it definitely easier for you as far as your first year getting into it and stuff. And so now kind of getting into the next segment is like the coaching philosophy and your role, right? So you said you're the softball assistant coach, right?
Mm-hmm.
So does that mean you only work on, not softball, the pitcher, right? So does that mean you only work with pitchers, or what exactly does that mean?
So I am at the disposal of whatever the current Coach Gunny, needs from me.
Okay.
So when he first got hired, I was like, hi, like I used to play here. I've helped coach the past years, whatever, like however I can help, like I would like to do that. Gunny's awesome. He is always very open and welcoming to the suggestions that I have, so that makes me feel comfortable with suggesting whatever. This year he has delegated me with bullpens, and so working with the pitchers like more one-on-one, and then I'm in charge of the weight room as well. So like
oh wow, so all the weight sessions, that's all on you.
Yeah, so I put them together, and I go to every weight session, and Coach Jake also is at the weight room with me.
So you guys kind of work together, or kind of go based off like, we should do this, do that, kind of get different days in that sense, or is it just all you still?
No, I make the plan, and then Jake is in there making sure people also have good form, just because.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. So what are they doing right?
Yeah, one person to 30 girls is difficult to help them with form, so Jake does really well with helping them with form as well.
Yeah, making sure they're doing it right and actually getting the actual reps in. Not just half-assing it or not really getting the technique down.
And you know what? Mostly technique, because I actually never have to worry about the girls pushing or not. They are, once we get in the weight room, they're very like, all right, let's go. Like I've never one time I had to stop the weight room session and tell them to focus, because they were having like too much fun.
Yeah.
But they always push in there, and so it's nice to see their drive in there. Like I give them the plan, but they go and execute it way past what I could have planned.
And do you think that's the most rewarding part about being an NAI like assistant coach in softball, or what was like your most rewarding part?
I think the most rewarding aspect of being a coach in the NAIA is seeing how my players develop over time.
Yeah.
That is so rewarding. Like it's exciting when we have freshmen and transfers come in and they're handling their business, but it's seeing how they transform as young women and as players on and off the field that like makes it all worth it.
And it makes you feel more special, more connected with them as well, because you were there, and even then you had a part of that, as far as helping them out and stuff. So has there ever been a moment that you got really emotional, right? Was it like your first year coaching, then you had seen the seniors leave, right?
For sure.
Was that like kind of like the most emotional part of being a coach that you have experienced, or?
Yes, I like watching them graduate and just also understanding what that feeling is like. You always want to, because we have ups and downs in a season, right?
Yeah.
But fact of the matter is, women don't play their sports forever, right? Like professional sports for women isn't as common as guys. So most women in college understand that these 4 years will be the most competitive softball they're playing, and then it's done, it's over with, So, by the time like senior day gets me every time. But by the time senior day comes and I can tell they're emotional, and it obviously makes me emotional, and so, yeah.
It definitely does, yeah.
In a good way.
Yeah, not like in a depressing way, but it's like really in a good way that like you say, you see their journey, you see them how they progress, especially freshmen, you see it more within compared to like JUCO players or like transfers. But yeah, I think that is a really huge rewarding moment. And even then, like on that, what do you think is the main difference now from you? Again, you just came off a plane, straight into coaching. How's the pressure like? How different is it? Because now you're like in control in the sense of it, right? Like now you're like, oof, like, you know what I mean? Like, what's like the difference, right? What was the difference to pressure being the player and pressure now assisting the team?
I think it's funny that you say control. I have no control as a coach. Like once, like on game days, I have zero control. Like I can call pitches, but I have to make sure that my players are prepared enough in that moment that they will execute what I'm asking of them.
Yeah.
So there's definitely pressure in that. Like on game days, I'm like, did I prepare my players enough? Are they prepared? Do they feel like they are prepared?
Yeah.
So that's I'd say the pressure that I feel. But as far as control, like I feel like I have no control. Like it's all in their hands. They're on the field. They're the ones playing. coaches are important, but what
It's all up
matters
to
is
them.
who's on the field.
Yeah.
You know, like they're the ones controlling the game. So I have like not that much control, which I think is very humbling to me as a person because I do like to control things sometimes. And so on game days when I can't control everything, it's just a good reminder, you know, like I can't control everything and that's okay.
Like you say, you compare them so much. Yeah, it's like on them. It's like, okay, I did what I can. Now it's for you to show you as an athlete, as a player. So that definitely is, I think, a hard part as far as your first year coaching is like, I don't know if it gets you sometimes, but it's like, it kills you that I know I could have done that better in a sense, or maybe I could have done that role that we're missing. But since I'm not there, who can I prepare? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I feel like that's I guess a common challenge as well, but also like oh shit, like fuck, like shit. So, what are some kind of key attributes you try to influence on your players?
Attributes. So I really like the saying, stay hungry, stay humble.
Okay.
I want our girls to be the most, like I want them to be competitors on the field, but I also want them to do that in a classy way. You know? I want us to talk with our gloves and with our bats. So we don't need to be talking smack anywhere. Like we're going to show you on the field what we have, you know? So integrity is a big one and accountability is a big one. Those are some characteristics that we really preach on the team. Because like I said, it's the girls and their experience, right?
Yeah.
So I can get on them as a coach, but it's up to them to be like, hey, like to their own teammates, be like, hey, like you're a little down today, like pick it up. Like,
Yeah,
come on,
like,
we
let's
need
go.
you.
Like we're here. Like
Yes.
come on, let's go.
Because me as a coach, I can say, come on, hustle, come on. But when your teammate tells you, hey, are you good? Like pick it up, it hits different. You know, it wakes you up a little bit. One of the experiences that I'll never forget here is she's one of my best friends right now. She's like a sister to me. It's actually funny. We weren't that close when we played together. I actually didn't really like her as a teammate. Yeah, I like wasn't like whatever.
Yeah.
But so much respect for her as a player then, and obviously now. But we just like didn't hang out that much. And so she's Sierra Flores, who also has so many accolades at Bethany, like tied for home run record in a single season at like 17.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. So big part of the program. I remember she's my shortstop. She was my shortstop. And we were playing Tabor, and I remember this specifically. In the first inning, they hit me pretty hard, but we got 3 outs.
Okay.
But they were barreling me up, so they were like hitting the ball pretty hard to players. And so I was like nervous. So from the first inning, I was like, oh man, like they're on to me. Third inning comes around, and they have a barrel party. Like they're hitting gap to gap, like they're scoring. They scored 6 runs in the third inning. And I remember Sierra like came up to me in the circle, and I'm like clearly not in the zone. Like I'm not focused in, I'm not locked in.
It's like noticeable.
Yes, like I'm not in my groove, obviously. Like I'm rattled.
Yep.
And she comes up to me and she's like, hey, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, you sure? And I was like, yeah. She's like, well, it doesn't look like it. And I was like, oh man. And so
you're like, no, she got me.
Yeah. And so, you know, and like it wasn't in a mean way.
Yeah.
She was like, come on, like we need you. And it like woke me up. And so they scored 6 runs in that inning, right? So we're down 6-0 in the third inning. We end up coming back. I think she hit 2 home runs in that game. So not only did she tell me, hey, like we need you, pick it up, but she also stepped up and picked me up. Yeah. So that's like.
She did it like both ways. Like you said, she talked with her gloves and her bat. And then she also said it like, come on.
Yes.
We got you.
We
like,
ended up winning 7-6.
So that was like your best. How did you feel after then? Like, did that really because it was an amazing experience for you 100%. And do you think that definitely changed the way you thought of coaching right after?
Yes, because I tell that story to my players all the time. Because in that moment, I realized she was a really good teammate, you know, even if we didn't see eye to eye like all the time. And so I preach that to the girls because what matters is what they do on the field. So they have to keep each other accountable. And so I tell that story all the time because like we weren't that close, you know what I mean? And she still told me that. And it's because she cared about how we did as a program. You know, if your teammate's doing well, that means you're doing well because the program is doing well.
Yeah.
Like
you guys had that common goal of the program.
Correct.
Instead of like holding grudges. They're like, okay, I don't fuck with you don't fuck with me, so I'm not even gonna.
It wasn't ever like selfish. It was like for the team all the time.
Yeah.
And that's why I think we did what we did my senior year.
And now how do you think about like that, right? Kind of in the sense of softball? Like new generations coming up, right? Like, I mean, I bet you have been recruiting a lot of new ones, new generation for the next season, whatever it might be. So do you think there is a change within the generation that you played with compared to the generation now that's coming in, right? Do you think they can take that as well as you did in that sense, right? Do you think it's kind of changing? Like, I wouldn't say softer, but definitely more. I guess that's the right word to say, like softer in that sense.
I think every generation is different. I think my generation is different from my dad's generation and the generation that coached me. And I think my generation is different from the generation we are coaching for sure. I also think times are changing. I think some of the things that coaches would make us do, like for drills and stuff like that, you can't do that today because it's too much, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like it's also society that has told us we need to take it easier on people. So I don't think it's necessarily the generation. I think it's what coaches are and aren't allowed to do in that sort of sense. So I think that's going to impact forever.
Yeah.
You know?
Definitely
Just
within what's okay and what's not okay, what they're comfortable to compared to what they're not comfortable to.
Yeah.
So is that like, how do you deal with that as a coach?
I have learned a lot of patience through coaching.
Okay.
Coaching women is not for the weak. Which you probably are learning that too.
Yeah.
You have to be very understanding, and at first I had trouble with that because I had like set standards and expectations of them, and I was like, you have to meet these.
Yeah.
You know, but like coaching for a few years, I've realized it's not all black and white. You know, there is that gray area. Like I have to be understanding of them because they're human and I'm human, you know? So, I always push them. I want them to get better, but a lot of the questions are like, why? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? So before that, even have a chance to ask that, I'm like, we are doing this because of this.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you give that whole explanation because that's the why.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
And quite frankly, I want them to know why we do the things that we do. Like we do ladder work before every weight room, and it's because I need them to have good ankle stability, and we need to have quick feet, and they need to be properly warmed up, and that's a great way to do it. You know?
Yeah, especially get the blood going, get ready into the huge session you're about to get into, especially lifting weights or anything in the gym. Honestly, is kind of just you really need to be waking up. And on that sense of it, right, kind of getting into a new segment. I got to pull my questions. I was doing good for a minute, but then I had to choke up on this part. Okay, so player development, right? How do you help your players develop their skills from transitioning to high school to college level softball?
Consistency, for sure. So it's nice because once you get to college, we are able to practice with them year round. So we have 8 weeks in the fall, and then weight room, we can hit the weights all semester long. So we did that. So as soon as we were able to start in the weight room, we did that, and we're still going now. So we'll go until they get back from Thanksgiving break. That'll be our last week, and then they can focus on finals. But that's a big difference, right? In high school, they're usually not lifting weights that consistently. So we see a huge development in the amount of core we're doing and the amount of explosive work we're doing, and just it makes a big difference by the time their like first season rolls around. Like they've almost transformed into not a whole different ball player, but they've leveled up, you know, and it's cool to see that. So
especially in the first game, definitely get to see the difference. It's like, wow, I remember you coming in the first week of school not even able to hit or throw that type of throw or all these things.
Yeah.
So even a follow-up question on that, how do you balance individual skill development with the team goals and strategies?
So individually, I don't think there's a cookie cutter way. Like not every player will do the same thing. So for pitchers, for example, I want to make my pitcher's strengths even stronger. And so say we're in a game, and obviously our strategy is to try and win, right?
Yeah.
So I will always play into my pitcher's strength. So for example, let's say we have a batter up to bat, and she's really good at hitting inside pitches. But my pitcher on the mound, her best pitch is a screwball, which goes into a righty batter, right?
Okay.
So I'm going to throw the screwball. And if my pitcher is locating it where we've been practicing on locating it and where we've talked about, the batter should swing, and she should smoke it down for a foul ball.
Yeah.
So do that twice in a row, 2 strikes, right? Then we're going to challenge her with a changeup. So, like, I'm not gonna not throw my pitcher's best pitch just because a hitter's good at hitting that pitch. If anything, that's my pitcher's opportunity to challenge that hitter. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So I will always play to my pitcher's strengths.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
I want the pitchers to attack the zone, and they should trust what they have as well. The second, I'm like, oh, well, she hits good inside pitches. Let's not throw that. The pitcher in her head is like, oh, well, I guess my inside pitch wouldn't be able to beat her. You know, I guess I'm not, like, good enough to
Yeah,
do.
there's no way it's going to happen if she's going to hit it.
Yeah, so I'm like the opposite. I'm like, your best pitch is this. Like, we're going to do that. Like, if they're going to hit you, they're going to hit your best stuff, and then we'll adjust from there. But
Yeah. Even then to
yeah.
get better at it. Yeah. So that's, on that sense of it, you know, have you ever had a game where you're looking at it and you just kind of, like, made the bad call, right? Like, let's say in that sense, how do you feel? How do you deal with that after?
You learn from it, you know.
Okay.
Everything is a learning experience. I try not to dwell on it because, fact of the matter, like, I don't have control, right? So I'm doing my best for them, and I always have the best intentions. So it doesn't necessarily keep me up at night, but I learn from it because I know me learning from the situation now will help someone else in a different situation later, you know? So, but yeah, there's definitely been times where I'm like, dang, I shouldn't have called that pitch.
Yeah.
Or I remember one time one of our pitchers threw a one hitter, and it's because I called the pitch and I wish I wouldn't have called it, you know? But in that moment, I believed in that pitch. I never...
You never really predicted or even thought of that existing, the other outcome of that. Like, you knew for yourself, like, okay, this is going to work.
Yeah.
Like, this is it. Do it.
Yeah.
So how did you deal with that with the player? Like, the player knowing that, damn, like, the coach called it bad. Like, do you think that's kind of the sense of trust you might lose or not really? Which I don't think in reality of it, you won't. I mean, one bad call. I mean, like you said, we're humans. That's what we do. But how do you deal with the player-coach relationship? How do you deal with that?
And see, that goes back to us being human, right? So just how I try to understand that they're human, I also hope that they try and understand that I'm human. But does that happen? No. So some players probably do have resentment against me because I called a pitch that maybe they think, oh, she shouldn't have called that. And they're probably not wrong. Like, their feelings are very valid. I hope they also, like, move on from it, you know? I hope they know that I had the best intentions, you know? I don't ever want our pitchers to get hit. Like, I don't want our pitchers to give up any big hits or anything like that, you know, ever. I always want them to be successful. But being a pitcher's tough. Like, being 100% successful in every single game is literally impossible. You know, like, no hitters, very rare. Perfect games, extremely rare.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, success looks very different for pitchers. Some pitchers see success in being able to strike batters out. Some pitchers see success in getting people to pop out, ground out, you know. So, success is different, and it'll look different every single game. So, and I always want our pitchers to see success to some sort, but it's not always going to happen, you know.
Yeah. There's always going to be bumps, but it's like, what are you going to do after?
Yes.
What are you going to do after? Not in the moment. We get it. It sucks. We get it. Didn't work. What are we going to do after? What are we going to do?
Yes. How do we bounce back from this?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially as a player that you can't control. It's like, I can motivate you, but then you got to figure that out.
Yeah.
Everybody's different. So, yeah, that's a pretty hard challenge to face as an assistant coach. And even getting into, you know, this next segment, kind of like the follow-up question, how do you, in your sense, like you said, Jake helps you out as far as an assistant. So how does that go for recruiting? Does that mean you only recruit specifically pitchers, or does that mean you know what I mean? How does that work with you?
Yeah, so I do not do a whole lot of the recruiting. I'm not going to front. Jake has been doing phenomenal recruiting. He's gone to so many events. Softball has 6 players signed right now, which is like the most for a sport at Bethany. So we're like ahead of the recruiting game right now. And then Coach Gunny also goes to he goes to Texas. He's going to Florida this weekend to recruit. Yeah, so they do more of the outgoing
stuff,
recruiting and going to see players. It's difficult for me just because I do work full time in the student affairs office.
Especially you have to be here because due to dorms, like when something happens, you need it.
Yeah,
you need to be there.
Yeah, so it's difficult for me to go out recruiting. But I respond to emails when girls email us, and I go on field level and I look on field level. I'm not restricted to only pitchers. If I see someone who can compete and I think would make a good fit here at Bethany, you know,
give them a try. Like you text them, and we're trying to get in talk with them.
Yes. And Coach Gunny has also helped me with that. So.
And so on that part of it, did you kind of learn the recruiting side of it from Gunny, or did you happen to kind of learn on your own? Or was it from the previous coach, or has it just been something you're natural at? Because on the recruiting side of it, I know soccer, of course, we use like NCSA, field level. I mean, sports zone. We use so many different apps and stuff like that. So I guess it's like a two-part question. How did you kind of learn how to recruit? And then where do you normally recruit from? Like where does I guess in general, right, do coaches, based softball coaches, kind of recruit from? Is it always field level? Is it always something else? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I use field level.
Okay.
Primarily. I also get a lot of emails. So
Okay.
the people who reach out to me, I respond to them, right? So I'm like, okay, if they're emailing me, that means they've heard of Bethany.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, like let's talk. But yeah, I would say I haven't I'd say I'm always learning about recruiting because every player is different. Like every person communicates differently. I'm always learning how I need to talk with the recruit and their families, and that's one thing I've been doing lately is trying to get their families more involved because that helps the recruiting process. So I'd say I'm definitely still learning, especially being an assistant coach. I haven't been able to fully dive into that recruiting world just because I've always had a lot of things on my plate.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm still learning. I've learned from the previous coaches as well. And then I actually reached out to one of our old baseball coaches here, and I would go into his office and I'd send emails and he'd help me out with that. So I've reached out to people in the beginning just to get a better idea and different perspectives of how to recruit. But everyone does it differently. It's really like how you learn to talk with players, possible players, and their families, and get them to come visit Bethany. So
Yeah.
or whatever school, but
yeah, whichever way fits like their schedule, whatever they can do and stuff like that. Because I feel like, and this is kind of just more on your opinion on it, right? Like, what is the best way to get recruited? Is it sending emails out, or do you believe it's field level, right? Like, what do you think is kind of more? I guess it's like an advice in a way, right? People who are in high school now, they're wanting to know, how do I get recruited? What's the best way to get the coach's attention, especially at the NAI level?
I think if you're, whether it's field level or email, I think if you can put something specific to Bethany in your email, that gets a coach's attention like that, because coaches get so many emails a day from players, right? But if I read an email and it says, hey coaches, I see Bethany has so-and-so program and I'm interested in this program. I also saw your record last year and I have a friend who went there and says they really liked it. I'm really interested in the school. Oh, the way they're getting a response immediately.
It's quick.
Yes.
Yeah. So
like, hey, give me your phone number. Let's call right now.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best ways. The sooner you can get them on the phone and possibly get them here for a visit, I think is the best route to go.
Especially it's easier, like I said, it's easier. Makes it more easier that the player wants to.
Yeah.
So it's like makes the process way more smoother than it is waiting for a message, waiting for a call, waiting for a response on field level, waiting for, the coaches to release their profile for you to call, text, email, whatever it may be. Is there a bad way to do it? Like, is there a bad way? I guess, like, the obvious answer, of course, is, like, don't do nothing, right? But is there a worse way to send an email in that sense, right? Is there a worse way to kind of set up your account on field level? Like, of course, it's, like, not to have no film, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. One of the mistakes that I've noticed in emails is when they put the wrong coaches' names or they put the wrong school in the email. So just to, like, review and double check your emails and make sure you're sending it to the right person and the right school. I'd say that's like a big one that like I notice sometimes. But other than that, effort is the best way to go. So if you're putting effort into recruiting and getting recruited, something's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So
to actually responding, actually replying, all that stuff.
Effort on both sides is great.
And so, kind of getting to this other segment, we're going to challenges and insights, right? So, what are some unique challenges as an assistant coach has faced in an NAI level compared to other levels? So, what do you think is like some challenges that NAI is kind of different from D2 or from JUCO in your experience, right? What are some challenges in that sense?
Yeah, I'd say one of the challenges is the hour limit. So, at my JUCO and at all JUCOs, you have no like limit, right? So you can practice Monday through Friday, 1 to 6 p.m., and then have morning practice Saturday. You have Sunday off, right? But then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, you have weight room after practice. And so it's a lot, right?
Yeah.
And then coming here to Bethany, I remember my first semester here, I didn't like it because I felt like we weren't doing anything and I felt like I wasn't prepared for season.
Yeah.
So it was very like stressful. Because like we did conditioning for a couple weeks and then we just practiced for 8 weeks and then they were like, okay. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, so I'd say that's one of the challenges is the hour restrictions.
Yeah.
But you learn to adjust to it and you learn to work with it. Another challenge is that we have reserve rosters. So we have a junior reserve and then we have our varsity roster.
Okay.
So just a lot of players means a lot more of everything, right?
Yeah,
So,
a lot more attention, a lot more all this. So
Yes.
does Jamie have a tournament?
Yeah, they do.
They do, right?
Starting
Okay.
last year, they have an end of season tournament. They'll play games. They'll have a tournament at the end, and so it's a good opportunity because, quite literally, if you want to go somewhere to play, you can find somewhere to play.
Yeah,
know?
like you have clips now on both sides of it.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a huge plus. 'Cause I know many teams. I mean, like, women's soccer don't really have a lot of JV teams in general in the conference, but compared to, yeah, I heard that softball has one. I heard basketball might have one. But yeah, I think that's really cool. As far as softball, at the end of it, having a JV tournament, I know that as a freshman, it's like, okay, I'm glad I get to compete to get a trophy. Compared to, like, kind of not competing to get a trophy just for a season, and it doesn't matter if you're the best or not. You're done.
Yeah.
You're done. So heading into the challenge and stuff, how does the team or how do you handle injuries or losing streaks as a coach?
Injuries are tough. Injuries, it's obviously tough physically on your body, but mentally, it's a monster and it's a quiet monster because you don't know what it feels like to go through that until you're going through it, and then no one really tells you how to go through it. You just like figure it out. So injuries, we had one of our players earlier in the year had a concussion and they were very stressed because they're like, I just want to play, like I just want to throw. And we had to keep reminding them like, hey, like take your time, like it's in the fall.
Yeah.
Like when you come back, you come back. When you throw, you'll throw. And what matters is the spring, So make sure you take care of yourself and take care of your head because like your brain is one and only, you know what I mean?
So don't force yourself to do anything when it's like it's on your head. Like try not to stress, try not to do anything to cause more damage than there already is.
Yes. And so like with injuries, we try and remind the girls like you have a whole life to live, so take care of yourself and take care of your body because that's what matters in the end, So, but yeah, it's always tough, and we just try and be there and support them and whatever they need.
Yeah, and try to give them a bigger picture than it's just the moment of like, yes, there's a season, but there's many more to come.
Yeah.
Yes, we're not training, but at least the season hasn't started. So, okay, so what is something, and this is the kind of last question in the segment, what's one thing that most people don't realize about coaching college softball?
I feel like there's a lot of answers to this question. Just the schedule is so busy. It's always go, go, go. There's always someone sending a message to a coach, because everyone is their own main character. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So everyone has something going on at different times. And just as a coach, you just become fully aware of everyone else and what everyone is going through. So one of the biggest challenges I think is finding time for yourself and taking care of yourself. Like no one really thinks about that, and it's so easy to invest your whole life into like the team and the program, which is what coaches want to do, right?
Yeah.
Like the coaches want to give everything they have to these players and to this program because you care about it. But it is challenging to like sometimes take a step back and try and take care of yourself. Like
especially like you said, we're human. Like we need that time. We need that time to relax. We need that time to give ourselves credit. We need our time to So that's definitely a hidden shadow that no one really knows. That yes, you see the coach working hard, but it's like, are they having time to themselves? Are they having relaxation? Are they watching their favorite movie at least? Are they doing any of that at this point?
Yeah, the answer is no. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm not gonna watch my favorite novela. No, just there, bro. Just down bad. Going to this next segment, game strategy. Okay, so how do you approach an in-game adjustment like pitching changes or lineup tweaks?
Yeah, so we go like lineup, for example.
Yeah.
We play it off of that week. Like if a player who maybe isn't in the starting lineup had a great week at practice, and you can tell they're in the zone and they're locked in, and every time they touch a ball, it goes like hard off the bat, we're going to give them an opportunity.
Yeah.
Because they've earned it. They've showed it. As far as like pitching changes, you know, you just kind of, you go with the flow of the game, and you get to know your pitcher, and you get to know if they're like, if it's a speed bump or if it's a, like, well, we need to change. You know? So we get to learn how our pitchers throw, and if they can't make it through maybe a tough inning and they're good to go back out, or maybe they get through the tough inning and then, okay, we're going to put someone else in. So it's different every outing because, again, like, our pitchers, they're not robots. You know, they could have a great game one Saturday and then struggle on Wednesday. Maybe we need to pull them sooner. And it just happens that way. And it's not because they're not great ball
it's just a natural display.
It just happens,
Yeah.
you know?
And so how does that look like for you as far as, like, I mean, do you see that you need to take them out? Do you tell the head coach you're kind of like, hey, I think we should, you know, bring a new pitcher? Or does that mean, or do you make that call like, okay, no, we got to switch?
I make my own decision when I need to, like, go and talk to a pitcher, so I can tell, like, maybe she's thrown 3 balls in a row and she never does that.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, like, time blue, I go and talk to her. And maybe I've noticed something and I need to tell her, like, hey, like, your hips aren't opening, or you're not pushing with your legs. You know, if I need to go and, like, talk to her and break up the rhythm a little bit so she can reset, I'll do that. Coach Gunny is good about making, like, the switches.
Yeah.
But there has been times where I'm like, hey, like, I think she's done. He's like, I agree, and we make the change. So
you talk it out, and
yes,
then
it's collaborative for sure. I don't make any executive decisions when it comes to who's in or who comes out. I always run it by Coach Gunny.
Yeah, so for he can understand it. I mean, like you said, collab instead of.
I'm like his like helping hand. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just another set of eyes looking at the same thing he's looking at to provide a different perspective.
Yeah, or maybe catching something he's not really catching.
Yeah.
But I think that's good, especially collabing with the head coach. I think that's rare, but that's good. Yeah. Collab instead of argue.
Yeah, no, but I'm really grateful for Coach Gunny just because he is very open to what I have to say and truly listens, and also when he needs to tell me no to one of my ideas, like, I never feel bad that he said no. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
but you definitely do understand him. You're
yes.
like, okay. Like,
yeah.
I mean, of course, being an assistant coach, there's only so much you can not decide on, but like so much you can say. But, you know, at the end of the day, I trust him at the end of the day. Yeah. Trust what he's going to say. Either way, if he doesn't agree with me, I trust it, though. Trust it.
Yes.
And so what is your favorite part about preparing for game days?
My favorite part? This is a good one. My favorite part is I always try and get like a game day lift in.
Okay.
So that's like, I like set the tone for the day. My other favorite part is seeing how all the girls do their hair. Like, for game day, they go all out with their hairs.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I see they braid it or they leave it. Yeah.
And so, like, that's fun. Like, I enjoy that they enjoy that. And then my caffeine. Those are like my game day ritual.
What kind of caffeine do you get?
Right now, my favorite is Alani, specifically the cherry slush.
Alani? I have no idea what that is.
It's like coffee? Have them at White's. It's caffeine. It's like an energy drink.
Oh.
I can't do coffee. I actually can't do caffeine typically because I'm wired.
Okay.
And I'll get like, I'll be tweaking.
You guys are saying you're gonna start fiending for it. I need it.
I'm super sensitive to caffeine. So, but on game days, I treat myself to it because I'm like,
this is the outcome of it.
Yeah.
So, what strategies do you have to help a player stay confident during the game?
It's preparing them beforehand, right?
Okay.
So we make sure that they are prepared in practice. So that way they can show up to game day knowing that they are prepared. So the girls are not afraid to give us any feedback, like, hey, like, can we hit off of the pitching machine this week? We call the pitching machine Gretchen. They're like, can we hit off Gretchen this week?
Gretchen, like Gretchen?
They just...
Or is it like an inside story in those sense?
No, not even an inside story. It was just, they just wanted to name it uncommon name, and so Gretchen was the name they picked.
Oh, shit. Well, yeah, that's a very uncommon name. Ox eggs.
Yeah, so... Anyways.
Yeah. Sorry, I got distracted by that.
But yeah, or they'll be like, we need reps. Like, can you guys give us some reps before game day? And so whatever they need to feel good, especially day before game day, we do that because we want them to be in the right headspace on game day to be able to come out and play and do what they need to do. So.
And how would you, and this is kind of getting into the NAI perspective, right? As competitive as it is, you know, and I don't know how it is on softball side because I know on soccer side, like, the typically like senior high school players typically go like, I want to go D2, I want to go D1. The typical, those are the best schools. Of course, I want to be training with the best, whatever it may be. So, in an NAI's perspective on that, how can you, or what do you think? And I don't know if you heard. I just really don't know how it is on the softball side. But is it kind of the same as soccer? It's kind of thinking like, oh, NAI is all right. It's not that challenging.
I think I had like opinions about NAIA like coming in. I honestly hadn't really heard of NAIA. Like I knew it existed, but I didn't know what it entailed. Like you always just hear about the NCAA and the D1s and the D2s, right? I knew D3s didn't give athletic money, so I never really paid attention to those.
Yeah.
Just because I knew I wanted to help my parents put me through school financially. So, when I learned about the NAIA, I was like, okay, cool. Like, who am I to be picky, right?
Yeah.
Being a part of the KCAC and the NAIA, I realized it is so competitive. Like, there are such good ball players. I wouldn't have dreamed I would be competing. I would have been competing against some of those players. Like,
Yeah.
so good. One of the pitchers we played against my senior year is playing pro softball, the only NAIA player ever, and I got to play against her. She struck me out, but she's
did you get a chance?
Yeah, she's good. Yeah, she's
what
good.
school was she with?
She went to USAO.
USAO.
Yeah, I don't remember her name. Cerny.
Okay.
Something Cerny. But actually, at regionals, my catcher, Morgan Russell, I called her Mo. I still call her Mo. I talked to her the other day.
I was about to say.
Mo hit a 2-run home run off of this pitcher who's now playing pro ball. And I'm like, girl, you did that. And that's why we got to go to like nationals and stuff. So it's just crazy how things work out. But I would have never thought that I would have been competing against these great ball players, And so don't knock NAIA. Like it's
actually competitive. Yeah,
Yes.
it's actually pretty good compared to how it's kind of seen. Like you said, you're always going to hear NCAA. You're always going to hear about big teams like UCLA, Wake Forest, whatever it may be. But yeah, like I don't think a lot of people notices that NAIA is pretty. It's pretty hard.
Yeah, it ain't easy.
Yeah, it's definitely even like the training of it, and thankfully Bethany College has a whole weight room. Like it has everything walkable wise compared to many NAIs. I think that's only kind of minus part, but it just kind of depends within the school, right? How far it is, access to it, whatever it may be. But yeah, NAI is really no joke. It is no joke.
It is no joke.
And do you think NAI kind of got better ever since you played? Now you coach, or do you think it's kind of just always still kind of that competitive? Does that make sense?
I feel like all levels are getting more competitive as time goes on. I feel like people are understanding how to train and are starting training sooner, And so I feel like sports all the way around are going to just keep getting more competitive, and I think that's exciting. I think that's awesome. Everyone's getting better.
More exciting, more new. I mean, new everything, right? New everything. Like you said, that, I mean, how kind of the generation played when you played was so much more different how it is now. Especially even now, like how people kind of wear different things, which I don't understand. Like arm sleeve, and I don't get any of that. I don't get any of that. But yeah, so, one more question on the NAI perspective. What do you think kind of sets apart NAI softball compared to other levels, right? We know it's still challenging, but what kind of sets it more apart from D2? At D3, they don't give out money for scholarships, but I don't know if that kind of question makes sense.
It does make sense. I just have only ever played and coached at the NAIA level, so I'm not sure if I can compare it to other levels just because I haven't experienced it. No, JUCO. JUCO is also very competitive. I'd say they were both very great experiences, though. They both challenged me, and I feel like I grew from both experiences. I do think that I was able to develop a lot my freshman and sophomore year, and it prepared me to play in the NAIA. I will say that. I think JUCO challenged me and prepared me for NAIA. So I'm a JUCO advocate, like. JUCO bandit all the way,
You bandit all the way. Because the transferring process was pretty easy for you, right? It was nothing too crazy.
Yeah, I had my associate's degree, so I was able to transfer in, 64 credits. And then with my advisor, we were able to figure it out so I could graduate in 2 years from here. So
Yeah, I just
I have no complaints. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was smooth enough,
yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. And now we're kind of ending all the deep questions as far as assistant coach on your end. Now we're gonna kind of go for fun, personal questions, right?
Okay.
So what is the most? So it's kind of two, right? What is the most? I mean, you kind of already answered it, but as a coach, what is your best memory as being a coach?
Oh, my best memory has been.
And what is the worst memory you have of being a coach?
Okay, these are deep questions.
Those are it's yeah.
My best memory as a coach. What's exciting about this is that I will continue to make new memories. So ask me this again next year, and it'll be different maybe. But right now, my best memory. This fall. There's just so many good memories. It's so hard to pick. One of my favorite memories is when one of my pitchers, Liliana Martinez, she actually had a lot of accolades at Bethany. She had a really good year her junior year. And I can't remember what year it was. If it was her junior year. She threw a perfect game against Kansas Wesleyan, against K.T.O.W.
Wow, the rivals.
Yes. And they didn't get to first base at all in the game. Yeah. And so a perfect game is so rare. It's the only perfect game that I have ever been a part of the coaching staff for. And I never threw a perfect game as a pitcher. That's super unheard. Your defense and your pitcher need to be rocking and rolling, and our defense showed up for her that day. It was just awesome, and the bats showed up, and so everything was just in sync that day. There was diving plays. It was just
a great game to watch.
It was a great game to watch and be a part of, and it's like we helped that, So I'd say that's my best memory right now, coaching. But other top tier memories is when I'm throwing front toss before a game and the girls are warming up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, for example, this fall, one of our players, her name is Sam Gomez. She was every ball I threw, which I wasn't throwing perfect pitches, they were kind of out of the zone, but every single ball I threw, she line drived it, barreled it. I was like, dang. And she went up to bat her first at bat. And I was like, Sam had such a good round in the cage this morning. She's her bat's hot, right?
She's on. She's on. She's on.
Yes. She hit 2 home runs that day. And so it was just so cool. I saw it before it ever happened, but and it's not that I called it, but I just knew she was locked in, and that was super cool. And so it's moments like that.
That gets you going as a coach. It's
yes.
Dude, you've seen it, you're a part of it, and then you get to, okay.
And just getting to know your players like that, I knew, knowing Sam and her swing, I was like, oh, she's on today. And it was just really cool to experience.
Just having that personal connection, I think it makes it way more better, too.
Yes. Yeah, but favorite memories is, I think, whenever a player just shines, it's really cool to see that.
Now, how about your worst?
My worst.
Which is kind of tough, because there's not a lot of, but there's quite a few as a coach in general. There could be some.
No, as a coach, and I take responsibility for this one. I actually called a pitch on one of our pitchers, and we were playing K.T.O.W. and it was a couple years ago. We were at K.T.O.W. and this hitter was up, and the hitter up to bat, we knew she's had a great season, and I can't remember if bases were loaded or not. Or if there was one runner on base, or if it was a solo shot. I can't remember.
Uh-huh.
But I remember the head coach at the time, he told me, he was like, hey, don't throw anything over the plate because she'll hit it, And I was like, okay. And our pitcher that day had been, they couldn't touch her curveball. Her curveball was on, her rise ball was on. It was one of her best outings. And I remember I called a curveball, and as soon as I called it, I was like, should I have called that pitch, And she hit it out. And we lost the game because of that. Oh. And it was a walk-off. And that one hurt because if I call a different pitch, does a different outcome happen, And what makes it the worst memory was seeing my pitcher cry.
Yeah. I was literally just about to ask that.
I was like, man, I feel like I let her down because I think she felt like she let the team down, and she didn't,
She was just following an order that she was given.
Yeah, and so anyways, that one's tough just because I don't ever want to see my pitchers that
sad or
distraught or defeated.
Yeah.
She was so defeated in that moment, and it was one of her best outings, but how are you going to tell her that when she just gave up a game losing pitch,
yeah.
And it's so that's the tough one for sure.
amazing. And so
Thanks for making me
I'm
talk
sorry.
about that. No.
Well, okay, to switch it up a little bit more, to make it more a little bit happier. Which, because again, before I even ask this question, I don't know softball. I just want to make that clear.
Okay.
Because when you say these players' names, I'm probably not going to know who. But if there was one softball or baseball player, right, that you can coach, which player would that be?
I don't think I can pick anyone. I think the people who have been like brought to this program have been brought to me, and I've been brought to them, and it's because we are meant to.
Wait, sorry. I meant like famous.
Oh.
I
was like, I can't.
My bad. I didn't think I said it right, but yeah, famous like
famous?
pitcher. Yeah.
No one. They're so good and famous already. They don't need me.
But I'm just saying, if you had the chance to coach and be like, oh, I like.
And be like, I coached that.
Yeah. Be like, okay, that was me.
Baseball or softball?
Yeah, let's get see now I said it better because I was tripping. I was like, okay, wait, hold on. When you started talking about the program, I was like, okay, wait. Talk about pros. So I go, all pros.
Oh, this is tough. Softball. I'd have to pick. This is a tough one.
It's hard.
I know.
Hard.
No, it's okay.
It's hard.
Lisa Fernandez.
What team did she play for?
She played at UCLA, and now she coaches at UCLA.
Wow.
But she was she was like a Latina woman, playing ball, and that wasn't super common at that time. And this was years ago.
Yeah.
So I think it would have been awesome to see her, not even for me to like coach her, but just to see her and see who she was as a player. I think would have been so cool because she was.
It's like history changing.
Phenomenal.
Like sport.
Yes.
Like a sport history changing moment.
Yes. And she's still in it. Like she played and then she's coaching, So I respect that because it's not a side hobby, Like you're either in or you're out. And yeah, I just really respect Lisa Fernandez. She was a beast. And it would have been cool to see that.
How about baseball?
Baseball? I think I have two. Manny Ramirez. He played for the Red Sox, I'm pretty sure. Played for the Dodgers.
Okay.
But he was like a jokester.
Oh,
like, so he one time during a game, he left the field. Like his team is on defense. He's playing like right field or left field, and bro like takes the back door and leaves the field for like half an inning and then comes back later. And like that's honestly disrespectful to the game,
Yeah.
And like to the pitcher, I don't know. But
the whole thing.
But he was a goofball, and I think it would have been so cool
just
to like see who he was as a person. I think that would have been cool. And then Yogi Berra. Yogi Berra was old ball player, but he was funny because he would say things that wouldn't really make sense. He said 90% of the game is half mental. So, like, what, 45%? Like, what would you say like that?
Okay, I didn't even think about that, to be honest. I was thinking it for a minute. I was like, for real?
Yeah.
I was going to be like, for real?
I mean, he's not wrong. Like, most of the game is mental. Really. But
to say that last part, that last part would just ruined it more.
So, yeah, those would be my people.
So, now what team would you want to play for?
What team? Oh, man. I always made the joke, like, oh, I wish I would have gone D1. Like, I wouldn't have played, but just for the gear. Just let me rep the gear. Yeah, I'll keep that bench warm.
I'll give you the water. I'll give you the whole everything. Don't trip. Let me get some free shoes.
Let me travel. Give me the gear. I'll live my life. I'll play hard at practice, whatever. I'll cheer loud in the dugout. But I've never, no, I do. UCLA. Keep it classic.
Yeah.
And which is funny because they have similar colors to Bethany.
Yeah, the yellow and the blue.
Mm-hmm.
So what? Okay, now in that sense, right? Like, what was? Oh, man, because you guys get some cool stuff. Mm-hmm. I mean, softball girls get some cool.
They got turfs this year. They got matching turfs this year, so that's cool.
What's that?
Turfs. It's a shoe that has like grip on the bottom, so they can play on turf without playing with their metal spikes. Because that can sometimes be dangerous for like ACLs and ankles and stuff.
Yeah, mad grip on it. That you're gonna end up. Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah. See what I mean? I think you guys get sick equipment. You guys get some sick jackets too.
Tell our girls that.
No. I can get too jealous. So what is okay? I'm trying to think one more fun one to ask you, and then we get to like the advice where you can give all the players advice and stuff.
Okay.
But Damn, who would you want? Any famous person, right? This is going famous. A famous baseball or softball player. What player would you want as your assistant coach?
Player, what I want as my assistant coach.
It's hard. And I don't even know softball or baseball.
I would want Rachel Garcia. She played at UCLA as well.
Damn, Sam.
I know.
Damn. Oh, UCLA,
I am
bro.
biased. Which is funny. I'm not even from California. But I'm just a big fan. Rachel Garcia, because that girl could hit and pitch. And she's just a beast, a dog. And, like, she threw so hard. And she would always come through for her team, whether it was offensively or defensively. So just to say someone like that was on my, like, staff would be so sick.
Damn, that's cool. Yeah. Now, okay, this is the last kind of fun question, and I don't think
you said that last time.
I know, that's my bad. That's my bad. Because I thought when I was like, let's see. Well, I don't know if you're gonna answer it. That's the part. Either say no comment or you answer it.
Oh, I'm scared.
Or I want to try to make it easier for you. So there's two parts. You get to choose.
Okay.
Who has been your favorite player you have coached?
Okay.
That either is currently playing for you or has graduated and not playing. For those of you that are watching,
Can I instead?
I knew it.
Can I instead tell you who my favorite teammate ever was?
Okay, I'll take that.
Okay, great. Because you asked me this question, and I thought of this player, but I never coached her.
You played with her.
I played with her, and greatest teammate, one of the greatest ball players, and Melanie Lucero. She was my left fielder. Went by Millie.
Mm-hmm.
She actually just texted me. She's gonna graduate from Colorado School of Mines soon, and she's gonna be like an engineer or something super cool like that. And she's been going to school forever, but she invited me to her graduation, like in May or something like that. So, anyways,
so that's gonna be emotional.
Correct. But yeah, this girl, she played left field, and she was a type of teammate. She would make a diving play or something, and like it end the inning, we were all hyped up. She'd come in and she'd be like, "Hey, keep getting the ball to me. Like I'm gonna get the ball for you. Get me the ball." And I was like, "Okay, yes, ma'am." Like,
like whatever you say, I'm down. Yeah. I'm down.
I was like, and so she always had my back, and she showed it. She didn't even have to say that, but she would show it. She wouldn't let a ball drop. Like Sierra, the shortstop. Like Sierra, shortstop, wouldn't have to leave the dirt. Like she could just stay in the dirt because Millie was gonna get the ball that touched the grass. Like she was fast. She always hustled. Like always respected the game and just an unbelievable player and just my favorite teammate ever.
So you miss her.
Oh yes, deeply. For sure. Yeah.
So she transferred in when you were a senior? Or?
No, she was here for 3 years, and then because she was doing the engineering program, so you do 3 years here, and then you finish
somewhere else.
At an engineering school.
Mm-hmm.
So I got here in her second year, so we had those last 2 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Super sad vibes then when she left.
Yes.
Sorry, it looks like I brought back memories for Sam. I'm so sorry. I think it might make her cry. Yeah. Might make her cry.
No, but honestly, that whole senior year and my time here at Bethany, I made a lot of connections with people who have become my people, you know? And so just very special people in my life and made Bethany an experience of a lifetime. So.
And I think I think Bethany is kind of known for that, like straight people, straight people, the people you met, their roommates, past roommates, and all that. And it gets very emotional at the end of the year when you're like, wow, they're graduating with me, or they happen to have a family, they happen to just so many things. So I think that's very emotional as far as seniors in that last year in any sports. Like wow, like my past friends who texted me, they were with me, but they are in a different school, which is great and all that stuff. But sorry, I didn't mean to get damn. I was supposed to stay. Okay. Now get into advice, right? So, 2 questions. What advice do you have for those that want to be assistant coaches, right? And what is something motivational you can say to them that you think they need to hear when they are becoming assistant coaches for the first time?
Advice. I think whatever coach, whether you're an assistant coach or a graduate assistant or a head coach, you know, it's good to understand you're always learning, you know, like you're going to learn something new from your players probably every day, and it's okay to welcome that. I think you have to welcome that, and you have to let them in. Like, your players will respond better to you if they know who you are as well, and so that's important. And yeah, I think something motivational. I think the more you give to the game, the more you'll get out of it. So the more you give to your players, the more you'll get out of it. And sometimes the players you go out on a limb for and help the most are the ones that stab you in the back in the end. But you can't control that. You know, you have to, you give it your all, and you hope the best. But also just remembering that they're people. They're not just people, and they're not just a number, right? They're not a stat. Like, they're not their stats. They're people, and it's important to get to know them as that. And when you respect and know them as people, they'll do so much for you. So, yeah.
Okay. I almost got crying right there. Sound like a TikTok edit right there. That's a TikTok edit right there. But I definitely agree with you, Sam, all that. I think that's something that new coaches definitely need to hear. I know that's some things that, especially starting off, definitely need to hear that everybody's human. Consider the feelings, consider how you would have felt your first year here, your second year, third year, whatever it may be. So that's great advice. And, we're kind of at the end of the podcast. So, Sam, I want to thank you one more time for coming on. I'm so glad. If you guys don't know, we tried to do this on Monday. It did not go through. It did not go through. So, yeah. So today was a busy day as far as RTs for sure. RA is busy, kind of a busy day too. But yeah, again, thank you, Sam, for coming. Thank you for sharing your thoughts as assistant coach. Guys, I will go ahead and drop any social media that Sam would like for me to drop.
Okay.
Possibly. If not. If it is, it's right there. And I'm going to edit that in later, but it's right there.
That's cool, because there's nothing there.
Yeah, no, there's nothing. But there will be there. Exactly. That's the exciting part of this podcast. But okay. Yeah. But sorry, I said thank you like 4 times. Yes.
It's okay. Thank you for having me here, though. This was awesome.
It's a great experience, and I'm glad you get to share your thoughts. I think a lot of people do need to hear it, and I'm glad they are hearing this. Now, to end the podcast, usually, Sam, what we do here is that there is a Sharpie right here, okay? There's a flag right behind us. You get to choose anywhere you want to sign your name to sign us out. As soon as you sign us out, we have to kind of get together with the mics. We're like, yeah, woo. And I'd be like, woo.